So, what we're going to do today is kind of learn how to dodge and burn on a print. So basically, before there was digital photography, there was film photography, and you had to do this in the darkroom. Now we're able to do it in Photoshop. So the basic rundown, what dodging is it decreases the exposure in areas of the photo that the photographer wants to be lighter. So think of you're dodging something, it's going to make that area lighter. Burning increases the exposure to the areas of the photo that should be darker. So burning is going to be darker, dodging is going to be lighter. Okay, so first what you're going to do is you're going to grab this image off of Google Classroom, bring it into Photoshop, and our first thing that we always do, make a background copy. Now, we are going to use a different adjustment that we haven't used before, and that is the curves adjustment, and that is going to be right here. It's the third adjustment on your adjustments panel. Click that and you'll see that you get a graph of some sort right over here. Now we want to use this little hand tool right here. What this does is it allows us to pick an area that wherever we want. I want to get the lightest part of her skin, so probably under her eyes, maybe a little right here on her forehead, or her chin maybe, possibly. I'm gonna just go for right underneath her eye. And just click, and then you'll see it made a point right here. So let me do that again. So I have my dropper. I got here by pressing this hand little finger tool right here, and I'm going to click right underneath her eye. That's the lightest part of the photo that I see of her skin. And over here it automatically made a point. Now what you're going to do is you're going to click that point and you're going to raise it up a little bit. We're going to brighten her up. Okay, so about right there, that looks okay. So you can click this on and off and see the difference. Now I'm going to do the same thing. Before I do that, I'm going to rename this curve. So the way that you do that is by double clicking, and you'll see now it's highlighted. I'm going to rename it Dodge. Hit enter and it will save. Now we want to invert this selection. So if we remember correctly, we do that by doing Command I on when you are clicked on the layer mask. So you have to be clicked on the layer mask, and then you hit Command I, and now we inverted it so it's black. Okay, so we're going to do that one more time. So now we're going to go back to curves right here. Click on your curves. You're going to go to your hand, little pointy finger right here. Click on that. Now we're going to select the darkest part of her face, which would probably be like right here in her cheekbones, maybe her temple up here. I'm going to go ahead and select her cheekbones. So that's the darkest area that I see. Automatically creates a point here, and I'm going to click and I'm going to drag down to darken. Okay, so just probably about right there. Let me see how that looks. Yeah, I'm going to turn that. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Now I'm going to invert that mask. So see, it's selected on my mask right now. Now I'm going to invert it, so that's Command I. For you guys, I believe it's Control I. I need to get that down. It's either Control or Alt I for you guys. I think it's Control. Okay. So now we have these two. Let's rename this one. So double click and we're going to rename this one Burn. Okay. So now we have the basic editing so far. So if yours doesn't look like this, go back and rewatch the video. Make sure that all your layers look exactly like how mine do. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my Dodge. And remember, Dodge makes it lighter. Okay, so we want to lighten certain parts of her face that we probably couldn't be able to get, especially since this photo looks like it was taken on the red carpet where they don't have the best studio lighting. So we have to create it in post, in Photoshop. So we're going to click on our layer right here, and then we're going to go to our brush tool right over here. Now this brush is way too big, so I'm going to bring it down, and then I want to make sure that the hardness, how soft my brush is, it's very soft. There's no hardness, 0%. And then what you're going to do is, naturally where people, when you have studio lighting, where the light hits, where it should be brighter, especially if you're into makeup, you know this, under the eyes, you want under the eyes to be pretty bright, you want her forehead to be a little lighter, the bridge of her nose down to the tip of her nose, her chin a little bit, and her collarbones. So I'll walk you through that right now. So I'm going to start by just lightening up her under eyes here. So I'm just clicking and I'm dragging. Okay, and if you think it's too much, you can always lower your opacity of your brush. But I think pretty happy with that. It all depends on how bright you originally made your curves layer. Mine wasn't too bad, so I'm going to leave it. Now I'm going to come up to her forehead. I'm going to make my brush a little bit bigger, and I'm just clicking barely because I want to make sure I'm not going to go too overboard with this. Okay, now I'm going to go down the bridge of her nose, and I want a really small brush for this. Not super small, but maybe about that big. And I'm going to just click and drag it right down the bridge of her nose, and then I'm going to just do a little dot on the tip of her nose. Okay, and then we want to get her chin, so let's make the brush just a little bit bigger. Don't want to be one big spotlight right there, okay? Make sure you kind of blend it out. Actually, I feel like I did a little bit too much right there, so I'm going to take it away. Remember, you can hit X and it switches the colors over here if you think you did too much. Now, her collarbones, I'm going to brighten up where they naturally would be lighter. So I'm just going to take my brush, and now I feel like I probably should lower my opacity. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to lower my brush opacity. You guys, it's all going to be different for you depending on how bright you made your original curve layer. So I'm going to lower mine to about 60%. That's much better. It looks a lot more natural. And I'm going to bring it up her neck right there as well. And then right here where you see this little curve. Ooh, that looks like it's a little too much. So I'm going to lower it even more for right here. So I just want a little pop of color right there. Little brightness. Okay. So once you're happy with that, and I also sometimes will zoom in to the eye and actually put a little bit right underneath the eyebrow. So I'm going to bring my opacity back up. Okay, so now you can click on and off and see exactly what you did. Do you guys see the difference? Pretty cool. Okay, so now we're going to burn. So now we're going to use, go to our burn layer right here. Make sure you're clicked on the layer mask and you're in your brush tool. Now my brush is really tiny, so I'm going to make it much bigger now. Now, where they're naturally darker is going to be like right on her cheekbones, right here. Remember, if you think it's too dark, which I think mine is just a little bit, I'm going to lower my opacity to maybe about 60%. And I'm just going to add that, darken those areas a little bit. I'm going to darken right up here on her temples and a little bit around the top of her hairline right there. And then I want to darken her collarbone just a little bit more right here. My brush is going to be pretty small for this. That looks way too dark, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to lower my opacity to 25%. Again, it's all general preference. And I like to go with a lower opacity because you can always build. You can add more. And I'm just darkening around her neck right here where those shadows lie. We're just basically sculpting out the face just a little bit. Now I'm going to zoom into her nose just a little, and I'm going to make my brush smaller, and I'm just going to go right along the bridge of her nose right here, right on each side of where we put that highlight. And I actually might want to darken her lips a little bit too. So let me bring up my opacity. There we go. And then, let's see, how does that look? Pretty good. I'm going to go back to my dodge layer. This is just, I'm just adding stuff now, guys. This is personal preference. I'm going to go back to my dodge layer. Remember, dodge makes things lighter. I'm going to go into her lips, oops, and just add a little spotlight right on the tip of her lips. And I'm actually going to whiten the whites of her eyes just a little bit. You want to be really careful with this because it will start to look fake if you do it too much. Let's see, is that? Yeah, that looks good. Because eyes aren't completely white, like the whites in your eyes aren't. We could even go back to the burn layer and maybe darken her eyelashes a little bit just to add some drama. There we go. Okay, so let me zoom out now. So now we can... Now, a lot of you guys have been doing this on accident, but down here, this little folder, that's how you make a group. I would put these in a group just so they don't get lost. So you're going to make sure you select on one of them, and then just hold down Shift and click, and now you have your 2 selected, and then go down here to the group folder. Now I put them in a group. See that? Oh, actually, they didn't go in the group. I just created the group. Now you just move them into that folder. So now they're in the folder. So that way you can quickly turn it on and off. So you see the difference? Quite drastic. Okay, so now if you guys didn't do this along with me, now is your turn to go ahead and do it as well. Other than that, I think that's it.